Hi everybody, welcome back to MKR Creations. I'm Marilyn, and today we're going to do another kind of Christmas card that is simple. Today though, we're going to do one that is an embossed card. We're going to use a stamp that says, with a sentiment that says, "We wish you a Merry Christmas," has a Christmas candle, couple of ornaments, some greenery. It's kind of hard to see with a clear stamp exactly what's there, but I will show you how to do that. We will use this piece of cardstock to stamp on. You want to make sure the cardstock's the right size for this stamp. Then we're going to use a piece of glitter cardstock, and this you want to cut so it's about 1/4 of an inch wider, 1/4 of an inch taller than your original piece. And you can cut these out with a cutting board, scissors, and use a ruler to measure, and just use a corner rounder to round your corners. You can do that, or if you have dies that are this shape, you can use 2 dies that are this shape that'll fit on your card, and you just want to make sure you go at least 1 size larger, maybe 2 sizes, depending on your dies for the glitter cardstock. Then I cut a piece. See, this piece is 3 by 4 1/4. Then I cut a piece of green to go behind it. It's 5 1/4 by 3 3/4 because my actual card that I'm using, this is a Recollections card, ready-made card. The full sheet is 5 1/2 by 8, which if you're going to cut your own, you can do that, score it in half at the 4-inch mark, and the finished card will be 5 1/4 by 4. So to get started, we need first to stamp our image onto here. A lot of times when I'm stamping, I like to use a foam, thin foam, craft foam underneath, and that helps so that if, say, there's something on your desk and it's, tiny, you can't necessarily feel it, but your stamp is going to feel it, and it's not going to stamp evenly. So this will help it to stamp evenly, to get a good contact with your stamper. You also need an embossing buddy, and we're going to use that first on our paper. And that just kind of stops any static cling so that the embossing powder doesn't stick where you don't want it. Also, we're going to use a very fine detail, super fine detail embossing powder. I'm using it in silver. You also will need something for adhesive. I use art glitter glue, or you can use your AdTech crafter's tape. You also are going to need something to color with. I'm using, Spectrum Noir alcohol markers. You can use anything you want to color. You can use regular markers, you can use your colored pencils, whatever you have. So let's start out by stamping our impression. And again, we're going to take our stamp to, or our pad to the stamper. I'm using Versamark. This is a clear stamp ink that holds onto the powder. And now we're going to center. I'm going to try and center this without getting in frame on you. And we're going to just hold it here for a while. Press down without rocking. You don't want to rock it. But you want to press down so that the ink has time to transfer over and that all your ink transfers over. Especially since we're not using any kind of a stamp buddy. This has to go over all by itself. We're going to take a piece of paper that is a scrap piece of paper. We're going to turn our thing over here, and we're going to put our embossing powder on here, our card. And be generous with it. You want it to stick everywhere, and this is not wasted. It will go right back in here as soon as I'm done. And I do it right away. Some people wait, and it's like, I can't do that because I am super clumsy, and I would end up, Okay, we have some embossing powder over here we don't want. We're going to take a fine brush and we're just going to brush that away. There. So now we're going to take our embossing powder and put it back in our container. And close that up. All right. Now we're going to get this out of the way and we're going to use our heat gun and get this all embossed. Now this is going to be kind of loud. We're going to hold it off to the side a minute. Make sure it's heated up before we go on our embossing piece. Okay. You want to keep the gun moving because you do not want to over emboss or burn your paper. One thing with embossing, it can curl your paper. So you want to keep your gun moving as much as possible. And you will notice eventually here that things start getting to be a very shiny silver. And that's when you know that the powder is melting and is embossing. All right. So we'll let that cool off for a second. And keep in mind, your gun is still going to be super hot when you put it down. Like I said, I used my alcohol markers to color this in. And I have one already done here that I colored earlier. Colored my balls 2 different colors. I have my gold for my stars, my greenery, red for the poinsettia. There is yellow down in there that you cannot see very well on camera, I'm sure. The candle I used a yellow, golden yellow for, and for the flame. And then I used my alcohol marker. You have an alcohol blending marker if you have the Spectrum Noir markers. And after I colored this, the same color actually as this, I used my alcohol marker to pick up some of that color to make it lighter, because you know the inside of your candles burns a little lighter than the outside. So that will help also give it some depth. So now we're gonna hook this onto our glitter piece here. And I'm going to use glue because the glitter makes for a much, I don't know how you would say it, a much deeper area that we have to adhere to, which can make it difficult for some of your tapes and that to adhere very well. So I like things to stay adhered. I don't like them to take any chances on anything falling apart. So I'm going to use glue. And I did not use my fine tip on it because I want plenty of glue without too much. You don't want so much that it makes your paper buckle, but you want enough to hold this against that glitter so it doesn't come apart. So put that back together because I do not need super fine or heavy tip to go out against the cardstock here. All right, so now we need to go and put here our cardstock to here. This was a little more than an 1/8 inch border, where the one around here is an 1/8. This piece, you can round the corners if you want to, but the card itself does not have rounded corners, so I'm not going to. I'm going to try and make that transition here. If you wanted to, you could make that transition just to the square card, or you could round the corners of your card on the one side. I do not want to do that, so I'm just going to glue this down. Whoops. In the middle here. Wipe that away. Then we're going to take this and glue it to our card. And here I have about 1/8 of an inch border figured on here. And we can fold our card in half. Take our bone folder, crease it, and there we have another Christmas card that we can send out. Now inside you can always put another stamp that says Merry Christmas or any other Christmas greeting you have, or you can just write in here. Family letters are really nice, and this is the time of year, especially this year with COVID and nobody's seeing family and friends like we normally do. It'd be a good thing to catch up with them, send them a quote Christmas letter. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you'd like to see more of my videos, please hit that subscribe button, and I will see you next time. Happy crafting, everyone.